The word Champloo is an Okinawan phrase that, when not referring to food, means improvised or made up as you go along. So it should come as no surprise that Samurai Champloo is a bunch of stories chronologically jumbled together that mostly have nothing to do with one another, except they star our main trio, Mugen, Jin, and Fuu. The first 20 or so episodes are loosely connected by something resembling a story, and only beginning in episode 24, out of 26, mind you, does the plot stumble drunkenly into the party, yelling at everyone that it's finally here. In addition to its odd story structure, the characters are barely likable from the get-go. Jin is a stoic ronin who could only be considered a conversationalist when compared to a rock. Mugen is a hot-headed, rash vagabond prone to petty fights and creepy pickup attempts. And Fuu? Well, Fuu is pretty flippin' boring. She's a 15-year-old girl working at a tea shop who ends up traveling with these two degenerates through the supposed luck of a coin toss. Your generic anime female foil/plot progressor. Two swordsmen from completely different backgrounds and a young girl roam the country to find some other samurai that smells of sunflowers, a plant which doesn't have a smell, by the way. Just based off that, you wouldn't think that Samurai Champloo would have anything artistically to offer us, but you'd be terribly mistaken. Samurai Champloo isn't about following the generic track of a story arc or letting you enjoy the comfort and familiarity of a main character to root for and follow. It breaks all the rules of storytelling to bring you a different type of journey, one where the opposites seemingly clash, yet in reality become more and more alike. One that questions the very nature of purposeness and isolation and the path we all must walk through life. It's the story of two samurai, complete opposites, unlikable to us and each other, yet molded into characters we can not only enjoy, but actively and inherently relate to by the end. Both their stories, while incredibly different, overlap with issues we all must push through. If you've ever felt alone, if you've ever wondered about your purpose in life, Samurai Champloo aims to answer your existential questions and quell your fear of isolation in a way you'd never expect. So let's get into it. Samurai Champloo opens on a beheading ceremony with Mugen and Jin just a few moments away from death. They're both asked to grovel and apologize for the previous actions. Mugen's mind isn't exactly in line with the officials' demands, if living means
bowing down to the likes of you bastards. I'd rather die on my feet with my head held high.
His crude retort is calmly backed up by Jin next to him as the swords come down. Mugen rudely offers to help Fuu in getting rid of some unwanted customers for 50 dumplings. After blowing him off, Fuu accidentally trips and spills a drink on the governor's son, who decides Fuu should pay for that mistake with a finger or two. Fuu then offers
100 dumplings!
And Mugen decides it's time for the governor's son and his posse to leave. Arrogance and impulsivity, picking a fight out of thin air for no reason other than the fact that he can and enjoys the challenge. Jin meets the dickhead governor and his henchmen as they shake down a lowly civilian on the road. After questioning the honor of the governor's bodyguard samurai, the two scenes back and forth, each progressing towards violence that climaxes with both Mugen and Jin absolutely decimating their adversaries, but for extremely different reasons. Jin is against the corrupt and unhonorable nature of this government official's work, while Mugen doesn't care about anyone else and just wants some free grub and a fight. He hates being told what to do. Two completely different individuals, so unalike they should mix like oil and water, and as the episode progresses, it's clear Mugen is only in this life for himself and to fight others. He craves the struggle between two swords and doesn't respect anything else. Jin is just another symbol of Mugen's hate, and in contrast to Mugen's harsh upbringing, Jin grew up training in a dojo following the Bushido ways. Mugen sees Jin as an obstacle his mashed up fighting style must overcome to prove its worth. The same issue and response he's had with any classically trained swordsman, which we see over and over again throughout the show. It's the struggle between talent with street-learned skill versus those brought up through the academy or the institution meant for the elite. Meanwhile, Jin demands the honor and civility of the early Edo era that slowly became extinct as the samurai class died off. He follows a romanticized Bushido code, but ever since he left the dojo, his only real connection to that lifestyle are those morals. He's a samurai that doesn't see any lord fit to follow. He calls Mugen the lowest of the low for his untamed, crude breakdance-inspired fighting style and his lack of respect and honor. The two seemingly share nothing in common other than skill with a sword, and even that they disagree on, yet director Shinichiro Watanabe made sure we knew from the very first scene that Mugen and Jin are far more alike than we originally think. For two completely distinct individuals that seem barely comparable, their immediate ideas towards the governor, his son, and their corrupt actions mirror each other. This episode is the perfect introduction of the dichotomy between our two main characters and how, despite their overarching hate for the ideals of the other, they share an immensely important common ground of pride. Mugen comes from a troubled background, whereas Jin was the top student of a dojo. Two different starting classes with nothing but the circumstances of birth to blame. Mugen was betrayed by his so-called friend and sentenced to death when caught by the authorities. Jin was betrayed by his master who attempted to kill him on the orders of a government head honcho. Despite social rank, they ended up in the same place, following the same path of nothingness. Two skilled swordsmen, no home, no family, no purpose, wandering aimlessly and completely alone. And it's here in isolation that we find the true camaraderie between them, the enjoyment of food, the lust for women, and even the lines they mirror from each other throughout the anime.
It seems that I don't need to hold back with you. Guess I don't have to go easy on you, do I?
These are all shown to accent their loneliness and purposelessness, the two keys that bond Mugen and Jin together. It's the struggle of isolation and existential nothingness that forms the actual plot, difficulty, and conflict needed in a show. The first time I watched Samurai Champloo, I was taken aback. I loved it, and yet from an analytically critical standpoint, the narrative was crap. Plot goes nowhere and the episodes are typically comical in nature mixed with some sweet Chambara action, but each character is fairly oblivious and uncaring about the plot lines of others until it's too late. Hence Fuu being captured in like half the episodes without Mugen or Jin doing anything to help her unless it's necessary. Each episode is typically a self-contained story, rarely ever related to the overarching plot of finding the samurai that smells of sunflowers. Samurai Champloo is also deliberately anachronistic, bringing in everything from baseball to urban graffiti to centralize episodes around. Hell, one episode towards the end is essentially a zombie apocalypse ripoff as a side effect of some less than stellar magic mushrooms. With all this in mind, why is it considered a classic anime and loved by so many people? What about it connects with people on the same level as Cowboy Bebop or Trigun? The answer is the same two themes that connect Jin and Mugen, purpose and isolation. None of us want to be alone. In fact, we spend our entire lives working to achieve the exact opposite. It's instilled in our brains from a young age and reinforced by society. Think about the big steps in life: high school, college, moving in together with a significant other, getting married, having a child. Humans base so much of our lives and significance around others, but when we meet Mugen, Jin, and Fuu, they're alone. Completely alone. Only able to rely on themselves, and in all three of our main characters' cases, they're also being hunted down for their past, for what they've done or who they are. Being in a group and journeying towards a goal is a refreshing change of pace for each of them. They were missing something, friends and a purpose. It's this immediate and unwanted bond of three lonely people that we can relate to so easily. Being the outsider, the difficulty of finding people to trust, people to care about, it's one of the two essential pieces of life according to society. Find your purpose and don't be alone. And that's what we're taught, and yet that's not what Samurai Champloo teaches. Purpose in life is all made up. There's no divine law which says you have to do anything in particular, and no timetable of when you have to do it. Any rule you think you have to follow is a rule you could break at any time if you really wanted. Purpose isn't objectively real. And yet, each of our protagonists was living a purposeless life. Before they met each other, Mugen and Jin were ronin, wanderers, swordsmen with nothing to do but travel from town to town, fighting whoever got in their path for the thrill of it or the honor of it, but with nowhere to pledge their swords. During their journey, they're always haunted by the feeling that nothing matters, and in episodes 13 and 14, Mugen comes across an old friend named
Koza.
Her entire life, she's been oppressed by her cruel
Brother?
She wants to run away with Mugen and often tries to reminisce with him about conversations they had long ago. Like when Mugen said to her that from the perspective of the stars,
Nobody'd look any bigger than a grain of sand down here.
this cosmic perspective meant a lot to Koza, but Mugen acts like he doesn't remember saying it. At the end of episode 14, Koza's brother gets got by Jin. Koza thinks Mugen is dead, and so she decides to run away with the only man she has left to protect her, this dude. Then Mugen stumbles out from death, kills Koza's only savior, and keeps hobbling while this poor girl realizes she has nowhere to go and no one to protect her in a cruel world. She begs Mugen to kill her, and then the episode just ends. But what happened to her? Samurai Champloo doesn't care. It's never addressed again. Does it matter? The show just keeps meandering forwards. Despite hating each other at the beginning of their story, by the end, neither Mugen or Jin want to fight each other. In their final duel, both their swords break, showing the equality between the two swordsmen. The lack of difference regarding where you come from, and more importantly, that their bond as companions is stronger than their former purpose to beat anyone who might be tougher than them. However, the two go their separate ways at the end of the anime simply because there's a difference between isolation and solitude. The Ronin are now content with being by themselves due to the one change in each of their lives, the fact that they don't feel isolated anymore. That one change is enough to be happy. They don't need a purpose. In fact, the show makes a complete mockery of having a purpose. From the get-go, we're given this wild goose chase of an idea to find the samurai that smells of sunflowers, a flower that has no smell. This is one of the ideas that we of the West aren't given because it ruins the chain of our economic machine. Since sunflowers have no smell, you cannot possibly find the man that smells of them. Like the classic Zen teaching of the sound of one hand clapping, the answer you find to be true is the true path. The path that you choose to find the man who smells like sunflowers is the right one. Purpose is up to you, and what you choose is simply right for you. This is emphasized by the show dropping the plot for almost the entire anime. There is no plot in life. In one fell swoop, Samurai Champloo is showing what's important, and it's not finding the path, it's finding the people to travel with and taking a path. Fuu often says that she wishes their journey could go on and on forever, and in a way, that's what life is. A journey that goes on forever until we die. Why are we trying so hard to reach an arbitrary destination we give ourselves? All purposes in life are just as uncertain as finding a samurai who smells of sunflowers. We might complete them, we might not, but that doesn't stop daily life from being worth living in between. The show ends like it starts, with each character on their separate path. The difference is now they've accomplished something. They found the impossibly described samurai and bonded with each other in a way that can only be described as companionship. Gene even says in the final episode that for the first time in a long time, he can finally call someone, Mugen, a friend. Despite the three being as they were in the beginning, the end credits show them exploring the same world they'd explored before, but this time through new eyes. There's a sense of accomplishment and comfort that only friendships and overcoming struggle can bring. Samurai Champloo is about understanding that message, that life is inherently purposeless, so instead of looking for the perfect path to success, maybe we should be looking for the perfect people to travel that path with. The destination isn't as important as the one ball game we played, or that one bad trip we had together, or that one time we graffitied that building. When I look back on my path, it's the friends that have stuck with me, the dumb memories I've made, and the fact that I've gotten this far with the people I care about that matter to me. I'm proud of where I am, but I'm far more proud to be here with the people that I keep beside me. Samurai Champloo taught me that. It's okay to make it up as you go along, just keep the right people beside you along the way. Each story, as asinine or non sequitur as it may be, is worth telling when you're with the right people, and even in the end, if you choose to go your own way, those people will always be there with you while you tread towards your samurai who smells of sunflowers. That's the difference between isolation and solitude. Hey everybody, my name is Mike. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Bonsai Pop. Samurai Champloo is possibly one of the best anime to come out in the past 30 years, and I really just couldn't get enough of it. So Tyler worked really hard on this script. We had a really good time writing it. And if you want to see more stuff like this, please check out our Patreon. For $1, you get into our exclusive Patreon-only Discord. You get a chance to be shouted out as the lucky patron. This week, it is Le Redson. Le Redson, thank you so much for your generous donations. You've been here since the start, and we very, very much appreciate you being along with us on this ride. We have a lot more videos coming out for you very soon. Next week, we are going to be covering FLCL with Grant, the story you never knew. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the bell so you get notified, or you could just check your sub box once a week. We usually upload on Saturdays. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter and Instagram. We are always there uploading exclusive content to those sites as well, so we hope to see you in the future. And thank you so much for watching. Check our playlists, and we will see you next week. Bye.